But let's look at a simpler situation here. Now imagine that we have a pond, okay? And the little red thing is a boat, and we're rocking the boat, so we're making waves that expand out in all directions from the boat. And for convenience, we're going to pretend that the waves only come from the exact bow of the boat, the pointy end of the boat that goes forward. So when the boat is not moving, but it's rocking a little bit so that it's making waves, the waves go out in concentric circles and they expand in all directions at a constant rate. Okay, but what if the boat starts moving? What if the boat starts moving? Okay, now every time it makes a new wave, the center of that new wave is slid forward a little bit. And I'm going to show you an animation of this so it makes a little more sense. But it goes kind of fast, so I want to basically um, try to give you a little background on it first. So in this case, the red boat is moving forward. And when it was at this point, it made a wave, which expanded and eventually got this big. And you notice this outer wave is centered on that point where the red boat is. And then the red boat moved forward a little bit and it made another wave, which started a little bit later, so it hasn't got as far. And that's this one here. And you notice that the second circle is centered where the boat is now, having moved forward. And every time the boat moves forward a little bit, it makes another wave. Um, and the waves that it makes produce concentric circles that expand out. Um, so in this case, the boat is moving slower than the waves that it produces. Okay, so the waves are getting kind of crowded together up here in front of the boat, and they're getting spread out more behind the boat. Now, what if we make the boat go actually the same speed as the waves? This is where in phase, out of phase starts to come into play. Okay, in this case, the waves are always coming from the bow of the boat, as always. But since the boat is going the same speed as the wave that is going forward never gets ahead of the boat. The boat keeps up with it just perfectly. And because all of those waves that it has ever made, they're all in phase with each other, all the crests of every wave lined up with every other crest that it's made, you get a big pile of water right in front of the boat. You have massive constructive interference and it starts making this big wave right in front of the boat. Now, those of you who have been out on boats, water skiing or for whatever other reason, have experienced this. When you start moving the boat forward, it goes faster and faster. You get to a point where the bow of the boat, the front of the boat, starts to go up really steeply because there's a big pile of water in front of it. And this is the reason that there's a big pile of water in front of it. Now, if you go fast enough, then you start to ride on top of that. You climb up on top of that wave, and then you can start planing and going really, really fast. We'll get to that in just a moment. But this moment, when the boat is going the same speed as the wave, you have massive constructive interference right in front of the boat, which makes a big pile of water. Now, if the boat goes faster than the water, then it starts to leave the waves behind, and then you start to get this wake. And the wake is the it's the place where the front of the waves all line up perfectly. So this is a line here where you have constructive interference because every wave that it's made along this line is in, or they're all every wave it's made is in phase along this line. All the crests of every wave line up along this line, and it makes a more extreme wave in the water. Okay. Now, so I'm gonna show you the animation here, and we're gonna actually talk about Doppler effect and shock waves at this one after the other in the same video. Yeah, let's just go to it here. So back to the cats. Let's try this one. Here we go. All right, so this is showing an airplane which is flying along at lower than the speed of sound. Okay, so the sound that it's making at every moment expands out in a circle, moving away from the plane. But because the airplane is moving forward, each circular wave starts a little farther forward. So as you can see, the crests of the waves in front of the plane are mashed together more closely, and the waves that are following along behind, or they're moving away behind the plane, moving backwards, they're farther and farther apart. The plane's going to continue on off the side of the screen here. Now, the next time it comes by, the plane will be going at the same speed as the sound that it makes. Okay. So here it comes. All right. And as you can see, now all of the wave fronts are piled up right on the airplane. So that means that there's a region right here, right in front of the airplane, where the pressure is really, really high. The plane has hit the air really hard, because all of the sound that it's making is basically piled up in one place. All of those sound pulses that's created are in phase right in front of the plane, so they produce a gigantic crest, if you will, very high pressure. Now, think about it. If you're standing out in front of this plane, you do not hear the plane coming toward you because the plane's moving as fast as the sound. If you're standing behind the plane, it's a very, very deep, very low sound because it's going fast and the wavelengths are far apart. But in front, you don't hear the plane at all. Okay. Now, this place where all of the waves have piled up, reinforced, stacked up on each other, that is called a shock wave. That is called a shock wave because all the energy is concentrated at that one point. Now, in the third animation, the plane is going faster than sound. So it's running away from the sound that it makes. And as you can see, the circles are kind of spreading out behind it. Okay, so now that shock wave that was right on the note, right in front of the plane when it was going the speed of sound, now that shock wave is stretched out and it goes along the front at an angle here. At the right along this line, you have crests from every sound that the plane ever made. So that shock wave is along this line right here. Now, if you're standing here where my cursor is, the plane has gone by you, okay, but you still can't hear the sound because the sound hasn't reached you yet. You see the plane go by, but it's silent. And then when you're standing here, what you're going to hear is a loud boom because all of that sound that it's made reaches you in one shot. It's a very high pressure sound wave, very intense sound wave. It's intense enough that you can actually feel it hit you. It feels like somebody kind of hitting your chest. And it's loud bang. It sounds like a rifle shot, or an explosion. And then once that shock wave has passed you, then you hear the rumble of the plane because now you can hear the sound that it made. It tends to be a very deep sound. Okay? So the faster the plane is going, the sharper this angle is because the faster it's running ahead of its sound. And there it goes. All right, let's go back to this one here. So yeah, the faster you're going, the sharper this angle is. And we'll make diagrams next time, but we just don't have time today. I'm already stretching it. But basically, the faster the plane goes, the sharper this angle becomes. And if you know the angle, you can actually figure out how fast the plane is going, which is kind of interesting. Okay, now that's for sound waves, but shock waves show up in other forms too. This is a radar signal taken from space of ships going across the ocean. And as you can see, they have that same kind of a shock wave formation, but this is the waves they make in the water. This is the wake from from the bow wave. The ships are going faster than the water waves could travel in water. And so they make this angled wake, which is actually a shock wave of water waves.